I'm wearing gloves, goggles, flame retardant lab coat, long pants, and finally closed-toed shoes. For the SDS, or solvent dispersing system, first we look over to this pressure gauge. Notice how it is not above 15 psi. Now, if we look over to these valves, there are 3 of them. The top valve can switch between vacuum and argon. This valve that is hidden allows for the flow of solvent into our bulb. And finally, this last bottom valve allows for opening and closing of the system to either vacuum or argon. Now, if we look down to the bulb, we can release the clamp and see that there is first a septa, and finally at the bottom is where the solvent can also be removed. Make sure when replacing the bulb that you clamp it, and finally secure it. The SDS allows for solvent to be both moisture and free of any oxygen. First, take your top valve and align it with argon. Now take the bottom valve and open the system. Now, take this top valve and we will evacuate and refill the bulb 3 times. You'll notice a change in the sound of the pump. Once you hear the pump, wait about a minute, and finally take the top valve and switch back to argon. Now do this 2 more times. Evacuate with the vacuum. Refill, and on the last time, you will close off the system once the flask has been evacuated. Now, close off your system. Take your top valve and place this back onto argon. Since we are at a low pressure inside the bulb, this will allow for the solvent to flow into our bulb. Now take this middle valve and turn it so it points to the solvent. Now make sure you watch the bulb when I turn the valve. Notice how some solvent has been entered into the flask. Then close off your middle valve when you have the desired amount of solvent. Do not fill the bulb more than halfway full. Finally, open the system back to argon. Now, take a needle and a syringe, and we will fill this with argon 3 times. Now, draw up however much solvent you would like. Once you're done, you can then take your syringe and put your solvent into your reaction. Finally, close off your system. And lastly, move your top valve back to vacuum.